Oh, there's like a thing that says that texting while driving is also like drunk driving. Is that true?
Both of those are distractions. Did everyone hear the question? Okay, both of those are distractions.
Okay, thank you.
And those are looked at as distracted driving, and any distracted driving is critical in your ability to operate a vehicle, your reaction time, and what can happen. So they're akin to each other. The laws just have not caught up with each other. As you know, there are specific laws about drunk driving, and they're just now starting to work on the texting and cell phone use laws.
Hi, Megan Katz from Brush High School. What is your opinion on changing the drinking age to 18?
Megan, that's a good question. I know that there have been some university presidents that have signed on to look into the matter. That doesn't mean that they totally agree with changing the law. In my former job, I came from a unit where we had a lot of emphasis on underage drinking. We see the issues that it caused. We see the ability that it can have to wreak havoc on your future. So, I mean, we are still against it, the way the law is written. I'll also tell you there's also some federal money that kind of keeps states going in that measure. If you don't know how politics sometimes works, a lot of issues policy are based upon federal policy, and the feds have a good way of attaching money to that policy. So things like speed limit, what the legal limit of drunk driving is, et cetera, are somewhat dictated by the federal government via money to the states. So it's closely connected with some federal initiatives too.
Hi, I'm Matt Shlansky from Brush High School. My question is, I was wondering what your department is doing to address the issue of fake IDs.
Matt, very good question. We have probably 4 divisions that are really involved in false IDs. I'll kind of run through them. The Ohio Traffic Safety Office always worries about false IDs and how those can be circulated, especially amongst driving. We have the Bureau of Motor Vehicles that takes a very hard stance on false IDs, and they do some fraudulent ID training with a lot of the deputy registrars, where they will actually bring in fake documents that have been used to get IDs. Also, I'll have to tell you, for every step that the Bureau of Motor Vehicles takes to make sure that your driver's license is harder to copy, somebody's right behind trying to figure out a way to do it. And in probably the last recent 3 to 5 years, the Bureau of Motor Vehicles has seen some really good false Ohio driver's licenses that, unless you know for the particular things to look for in the license, it's very hard to tell the difference. Our Office of Criminal Justice Services has been involved in an ID theft consortium at the national level, because what people don't think about is when you go to get a false driver's license from somebody, you give up your personal information, and now your personal information is out there to be used by other people, whether it's to obtain credit, to get another false ID, to sell. So there's all kinds of issues that go along with that. The Ohio Investigative Unit works very hard when they're in the bars. Needless to say, we get a lot of underage that have false IDs, and they work very closely with the Bureau of Motor Vehicles on what the current trends are with those. So it's a big initiative within public safety and touches most of our divisions. Even Homeland Security is extremely concerned about false IDs, because once again it goes back to your identity theft when you give up your own personal information to get a false ID, and what that can be eventually used for. Good question.
Hi, my name is Marisol Torres, and I'm a student at Lawrence Southview High School. Zero tolerance has become a popular campaign in our nation, and with the drinking limit being .08, do you think there would be any way that they would limit the drinking limit to maybe .00?
That's a good question. Initiatives like that also go through a process that start at the national level, and while you have some people that have the right idea, there are also some very powerful corporations that might have an interest in still continuing to sell their alcohol, and they go out and they pay a lot of money and hire lobbyists that can go out and get their message that sometimes will work. And so a lot of times what you'll see in a lot of this legislation that comes out is it's a compromise between all the people involved in the issue and their points of view. And so it was a fight when they changed even to .08 in Ohio and across the nation. So I have not heard of a trend to go any lower. But I think as you're seeing that starting to come down, it's baby steps, and you'd expect them to come down just a little bit lower before they went to zero tolerance.
Hi, my name's Dan Van Zandt from Brookside. I would just like to know your point on raising the driving age from 16. Is that a big issue? Is that an ongoing thing that you would like to change, or your company?
Our Ohio Traffic Safety Office works very closely with the National Highway Transportation Safety Administration, NHTSA. It's easier to say the shortened version for it. And they do a lot of studies on age appropriateness for driver's license, and we put a lot of work into any type of research dealing with that. We go by NHTSA's lead a lot on what the current initiatives are. And so if that was something they would bring to us, once again, sometimes there's money tied to it, which kind of helps push along a piece of policy. But I haven't heard too much about changing that. I know there was a bill, I don't think it might have been this last legislature where they were looking at raising it back up, but it didn't gain any momentum. So.
Hi, I'm Katie Rapicki from Lawrence School. I was wondering about Bluetooth and like wireless phones. Would those also be banned from while you're driving?
Katie, as I said, there's 6 different pieces of legislation in the legislature right now dealing with texting, cell phones. Some of them make it a primary offense that if law enforcement sees you, they can pull you over because they know you're on that phone. Some of it makes it a secondary offense, which means they have to have another reason to stop you. But after that primary reason for the stop, if you're on the phone or they can prove that you were texting, it becomes another violation. Some of the bills deal just with texting. Some of the bills deal with being on the cell phone. So we're waiting to see which one of the bills gains the momentum. I know hands-free certainly is an issue of mediation in this, kind of a middle ground, that if people use a hands-free device, but at some point you've got to still maybe dial out, and so that's a distracted driving issue too. We're just going to have to see what piece of legislation ends up being the main catalyst to go forward and take a stance on it at that time.
Hi, I'm Tomas Navia from University School, and I was just wondering what the law is for how many people you can have in your car.
Oh, I knew someone was going to.
And what the reason is behind that law.
These hard ones. All right, I'm gonna just take the middle ground here. I know under the graduated driver's license system, and there's probably people in this room that can answer this better than I can, but you can only have so many people in your car, and I'm trying to remember what that number is. I think that, does anyone know the answer? Is it just one? If you're 16, and then, is that it? And then after that? Is there something at 17? Yeah, 17 might be 2, we're thinking. Okay, I don't have the specifics, but the idea behind it is because as you are just a very new novice driver, they're trying to eliminate the distractions in your vehicle. A lot of the catalyst for that legislation came about after a couple car crashes where somebody had had their license like a week. They had their car packed full of kids. Unfortunately, there was an accident with multiple deaths, and that's what drove the piece of legislation to enact the graduated driver's license system limiting passengers. So it's one of those, again, where kids will be kids. So the law kind of has to be put into place to kind of at least limit their activities and their distractions in the car.
Someone at my table wanted to know if you guys would be able to help special needs kids learn how to drive and get ready to take the test.